Ephesians chapter 4, please. Ephesians chapter 4. While you're turning there, stand together. Let's stretch your kneecaps. I know it's Wednesday morning. It's Wednesday, right? It's Wednesday morning. How many of you stayed in a motel? You stayed in a motel? Good. You look more tired than I am, and I'm 62 years old, so this is not good, all right? I'm doing fine this morning. You're alive and well today? By the way, Brother Gray was saying yesterday how that, girls will go and change skirts and stuff like that and all that. We're standing in the hallway yesterday, and I saw him trying another guy's jacket on. Now, somebody pointed out, I forgot all about that, Brother Gray. He said, could I try your coat on? It looks like it would fit me. And then this brother right here, my Texan friend, tell him what you had yesterday. Tell him. He had a veggie burger. A veggie burger. I said a veggie burger. I'm not even sure he's straight. You got to be kidding me. A veggie burger, a Texan eating a veggie burger. Has America gone crazy or what? Huh? All right, there we go. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse. You're not supposed to make fun of the other preacher, but that's too bad. You do stuff like that, you're asking for it. Ephesians chapter 4. And I'm going to get very serious this morning, so forgive me. I know it's Wednesday and you can't pay attention anymore. But I'm going to give it a shot anyway, because we're going to talk to you. Now, let people look at me. I'm going to talk to you about a very serious subject, and the subject is forgiveness. See, we think sometimes adults are the ones who have issues with forgiveness, when truth is, you better learn while you're young. You better learn while you're a teenager how to forgive. Because otherwise, I think the majority of problems young people have, to be honest with you, is related to forgiveness. They're carrying way too much stuff with them. Now look at me. Forgiveness in the Bible, it literally is a word that means to put it away from you. To put it away from you. Now, forgiveness is two things. It's an act and it's a process. The act of forgiveness is you decide you're going to go ahead and let go of this. Now, see, most people can't get past that one. They think it's not fair. There are a lot of Christians who feel like God asking us, and by the way, he doesn't ask, he commands. Forgiveness is not an option, it's a requirement. You have to forgive. And they think that's unfair. They hurt me and I have to forgive them. That's just not right. Oh, yes, it is. Because young people, now look at me. Because young people, God enables you to put it away from you. Instead of expecting forgiveness to come from them. If they come and ask me, then I'll see about it. Well, you'll never forgive them with that attitude anyhow. You got to come to the place where you decide you want to put it away from you. That's the act of forgiveness. That's the decision. Where you say, okay, fine, I'm not going to carry this around with me anymore. And this is past your thinking on this stuff, but on farms, when you have a dog that kills chickens, you got to teach that dog to not do that. You do two things. Well, three. First, you beat him. Then secondly, you take one of them dead chickens that he killed, and you tie it around his neck, and you leave it there till it rots and falls off of him. And after a while, that dog wants nothing to do with chickens. Because after a while, he's got that stinky, rotten carcass hanging around his neck. He doesn't want chickens anymore. See, what's number three? You shoot the dog, but we won't talk about that for right now. But number two is, hey, you know what? So some of you, that's what you got a rotten carcass hanging around your neck, and you think you need to hang on to it. Are you kidding me? Yesterday, I took some time. It was very kind of them to allow me to do it. I took some time to go over and see my dad. My dad's a Baptist preacher, ran off on one of the women in our church. I was a year old in my mother's arms on the front row. He left us. My mother turned to drink, became a drunkard, married a man who was a drunkard, who would come home and beat us every night. And for years, I carried that around with me for every justified purpose on the planet. Everybody I would ever talk to would say, well, I understand why you're angry and bitter because of what happened to you as a kid. And nada. You look at me, young people, look at me. It was not my dad's job to get that taken care of. It wasn't my mother's job to get it taken care of. It wasn't my drunk stepfather's job to get it taken care of. It was my decision. I wanted to let it go. Do you know why? Because I kept dragging it around with me. The act of forgiveness. But now wait a minute. Just because you say I forgive doesn't mean you've forgiven, does it? That's the process of forgiveness. That's where God's grace comes in to help you to continue. Look at me. To continue to put it away from you until finally you let it go. God will give you the grace to do it. You know why? Because he's the great forgiver. Oh my. Now this morning, and rather than teach you about forgiveness, I want to talk to you about how do you know if you really have forgiven someone. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse number 31 says, let all bitterness, Ephesians 4:31, let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And verse 32, and be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted. What's the next word, young people? Forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. But look here, does it tell you how to let the bitterness go? It just tells you that if you've forgiven, you will. Now, there's two things this morning. I'm going to sit you down just a second. Pay attention now. There's two things that prove you've forgiven somebody. Number one, the condition of your heart. And number two, how you treat people. That's the proof. Not do you ever think about it. Not does it ever come up in your mind. I'm sitting yesterday with my dad who 61 years ago dumped us. By the way, that's not the first time. And that's the first time, but that's not the only time. Dumped us several times in life, ran off and left us, made life difficult, yada, yada, yada. We got a whole old procession going on and everything else. And I'm sitting there talking with my dad yesterday. And young people, I'm telling you now, look at me. I have absolutely no problem with my dad, and I have not for 40 years. Because if you keep under the grace of God, you'll let it go. And I got no issues with him. By the way, I got no issues with anybody. Thank you. Keep playing. That's background. I was about to sing for you, but modesty withholds me. Everywhere you go, somebody's stupid phone goes off. Okay, we'll leave that alone. Let's pray. Father, bless us this morning. Help us to hear now, we ask in Christ's name. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Now, I'm going to ask you to sit up real straight and listen very carefully. You say, but Pastor Johnson, okay, so you just forgive. No, look at me. No, you forgive like you've been forgiven. Now, that's the issue of forgiveness. That's why verse 32 says, even as God, that thing goes off again, I'm going to stomp somebody to death. Even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. Look here. You forgive you don't forgive them based on what they've done to you. You forgive them based on how much God has forgiven you. Now that's the issue. That's why when people say, well, I just can't forgive. Don't say that. Say it this way. I don't want to. They owe me more than I owe God. That's where it comes right down to. It's that simple. You know the parable Jesus taught in Matthew 18 where one of his disciples, I think it was Peter, came and said, Lord, if my brother does me wrong, how many times do I have to forgive him? Is 7 enough good? 7? And Jesus said, no, 70 times 7. That's like a lot. I think it's 490 times. That doesn't mean you count it down. I forgive you, 489. I forgive you, 488. I forgive you, 487. I forgive you, 486. No, it means you keep forgiving them, letting it go, and after a while, somewhere between the first time and the 490th time, you'll just let it go. But then he taught the parable about the guy who owed so much money. In reality, that money in terms is probably about $250 million. That's a lot of money in our day today. He's required to pay the debt. He can't. So what does he do? He asks for forgiveness. And the man he owes $250 million to, in a moment of mercy, just says, it's forgiven. Take it off the books. Whoa! $250 million, $250 million bucks. You know, that's more money you're ever going to even look at. Same man, $250 million man, walks outside, meets a friend who owes him $2. $2, Titus, $2. Says, give me my $2, man. He goes, I don't have it. Will you forgive me? He goes, no. You owe me $2. Give me $2. I'm going to put you in debtor prison. The guy who was just forgiven $250 million of debt, he is requiring this man to cough up $2. The parable is this. You are the $250 million man and or woman. Anything anybody else does to you is $2. $2 worth. Say, some of that's not how I see it. That's why you can't forgive. Because see, they owe you more than you owe God. You know what your $250 million debt is, don't you? Hell. Eternity in a burning fire of hell forever. And in a moment of mercy, Jesus Christ's blood gives you that forgiveness. Hey, you're the $250 million man. If you see it like that, you're good. Wait a minute. But more importantly, if you see what anybody does to you in life as $2 worth, I didn't say it's cheap. I didn't say to devalue it. I said value it correctly in relation to how much you have been forgiven. Not what they did, how much you've been forgiven. I spent half my childhood under the bed, hiding from a drunk stepfather who'd come in the middle of the night, jerk us up, and slap us around and beat us. Do you think that's simple? No, that's a lot. No kid should have to live in fear and dread and all that kind of stuff. I used to stand on a chair in a hallway, 7 or 8, 9-year-old boy, unscrew a light bulb and stand there with a baseball bat and hide around the corner so when he came around the corner, wham, I could lay him out before he'd beat me. You think that's $2 worth? It is in relation to eternity in hell. See, you don't value forgiveness correctly. You think and some of the stuff's awful now that's done to us. Agreed? They take our innocence, they harm us, they hurt us, they curse us, they hate us, they leave us, they dump us. I'm not saying it's cheap now. I'm not devaluing what happened to you. I'm not doing that. I'm saying you need to value it correctly. You'll never forgive until you do. You value what they've done to you in relation to what you did to Jesus that crucified the perfect, sinless Son of God. And God was willing to forgive you, even as God, for Christ's sake, has forgiven you. So the how was there, but how do you know if you've really forgiven? Well, first of all, the condition of your heart will tell you if you've really forgiven. Look at verse number 31. He says, let all bitterness and wrath. Okay, first of all, you know you're forgiven when you can let things go. So, Pastor Johnson, you talk about what your dad did to you. I talk about it in preaching. Look here. I never think about it. Never. Honestly, God is my judge. I never think about it. When I see my dad, I don't look at him and go, yeah, there's the guy that dumped me when I was a kid. And there's the guy that broke my heart. And there's the guy that put me in a drunkard's home. And there's the guy that left us more than once in my life. And there's the guy who wanted nothing to do with me most of my life. And I don't look at him and go, oh, my goodness. See, that's it. You've forgiven if you let it go. Because he doesn't tell you in verse 31 how to let it go. You see, the evidence is you have done it. You just keep letting it go. Because let it go. Let all bitterness. Let it go is the proof of forgiveness. There's nothing in here toward anybody. Nothing. My little 2x4 squirt mama who's up in heaven now, I have no issues with my mother. None. What are you going to do with people never come and ask you for forgiveness? What? You watch too much stupid television. You really think in 22 minutes, plus 8.5 minutes of commercials, that someone sits there and goes, I'm sorry I hurt you in my life. And they go, I'm sorry too. And they all hug and kiss each other. It's just wonderful. That fixed nothing. My dad dumped me when I was 1. I was 21 when he asked for forgiveness, but I'd let it go long before that. Why? I don't want that dead chicken hanging around my neck the rest of my life. That's why some of you can't find any joy or happiness or anything in life. And you're justified. You're living in your misery. You say, well, it's not my fault. Now look at me. Look at me. Look at me now. Look at me. It's not your fault they hurt you. That's their fault. It's your fault you keep letting it hurt you, though. Now, that's not fair, Pastor John. It's totally fair. If I got to depend on somebody, and you got to depend on someone else to make you happy in life and help you find forgiveness, you're never going to find it. What if they never say you're sorry? My stepfather, who beat us when we were children, he'd never ask for forgiveness. He hated us all the days of our life. He never said he was sorry. I got no issues with that man. He's long since been dead and gone. And I'm not glad he's dead and probably in hell. I'm not glad about that at all. I said you let it go. You don't go around the rest of your life with this. Well, I'll tell you why. Because see, here's what happened to me when I was 7. Oh, excuse me. The proof you've forgiven is you let things go. Look here, look here. You don't accumulate stuff. Because after all, when someone hurts you, here's good news. Someone else will probably hurt you before it's over. Oh, now you got 2 people. And then next thing you know, it's 3 people. And then the next thing you know, it's another person. And after a while, you can't let anything go. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, you jump out and run over and beat on the door of their car and want to kill them because you got all this stuff in your life. That's you, though. The proof of forgiveness is you let it go. You let bitterness go. Bitterness, the word bitterness in the Bible here is poison. Now, I don't think you would deliberately take poison into your body. You know it would kill you, right? If someone said bitterness is the only chemical that destroys its own container, and I'm going to tell you something, young people. If you don't get this thing of forgiveness down, you're going to be bitter in your soul, shriveled up, unhappy. And again, you're going to think you're justified for it. I feel sorry for you. The proof is there's no bitterness in you. Then you got wrath and anger, it says in verse number 31. Well, that's a temper. You got anger issues. You walk around all the time with that temper right underneath the surface. And all it takes is someone to bump you and go, hey, what's that all about? Hey, hey. Just somebody, just anything. Little things, but boom, and you just blow up. And you think, especially you young guys, you think somehow that's masculine. A man with no control over his passions is no man. By the way, guys, and young ladies too, the Bible does say, be ye angry. It's in this passage, be ye angry and sin not. Some things ought to tick you off. But your temper should be completely in control. You turn it on, boom, and you turn it off, boom, and you're done. If you've forgiven, you got control over your temper. Then it says clamor in verse number 31. That's argumentativeness. You got to argue about everything. Everything. You're always arguing about something. Someone says, well, it's, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. That's why you can't get along with your parents. You argue with them all the time. First of all, your parents are fools for arguing with you. In our house, we didn't have arguments with our children because it didn't last that long. Just not going to happen. I'm not going to stand there and argue with a teenager. Not going to do it. We're not having this conversation. It is now over, and if you don't watch out, we didn't do timeouts in our house. We did lights out in our house. That's what we did. The truth is, this argumentative stuff. You argue with your youth director. You argue with each other. You argue with everybody. You get in line at a grocery store, and you go to check things out. You argue with the person behind the counter. You argue with everybody. Proof of the matter is, I'm sorry. I hate standing in line. I hate it. I hate stop signs, red lights, and standing in line. How I ever got in the military, I have no idea. They say, follow that line. I'd go, nah, I'm going on that one. Boot camp straightened that out. But the truth of the matter is, that argumentative spirit, then it's this evil speaking, verse number 31. Hey, not just bad language, but carnal fleshly talk. Always talking about vile stuff, wicked things, making suggestive comments. And then the word malice in verse number 31. The word malice is simply this. You want to hurt people. So that's why you go on social media. Huh? Because you want to assassinate people. I'm sorry, I'm very anti-social media guy. Very anti-social. People ask me, Pastor Johnson, do you have a Facebook page? My answer is no, I have a life. I'm sorry. And I know it's, I keep hearing this thing about it's a great tool. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but I got so many problems I had to deal with in ministry because of social media. So 70-some% of divorce proceedings today in America are related to social media. Well, you don't have to worry about that because you're not married. And some of you guys, you're never going to get there. But unless your church starts a blind ministry, you ain't got no shot, bro. Let me just tell you that right now. And women who can't smell. But the truth of the matter is this idea of a malice. So you go on, you assassinate someone's character. You start filthy things about folks and that kind of junk. You got forgiveness issues. Not you, Noah. You're okay. You still 9? You still picking your nose, bro? No, okay. All right, just checking. You look happy. I just thought maybe, found gold. Now, here's the deal. He's a two-joiner, dude. So here's the deal. Malice, picking on little guys. Okay, there we go. I got forgiveness issues. It's unbelievable to me. People come up to me at church. I'm not coming to church anymore. Somebody unfriended me on their Facebook page. And I go, well, that's just because they got to know you personally. People, You say, well, Pastor Johnson, if you knew what I went through in my life. Now, one more time, I want you to look at this preacher. Stand up again, stretch your kneecaps. I know it's hard to sit and listen all this time. I know that. If we're playing video games, you'd be dialed in. You do a little Pokemon Go. But now look at me, friend. Look at me. If you justify the reason you act like this, you're going to just be this way the rest of your life. Hey, you're going to be one of them old people in a wheelchair in a nursing home. When you walk in and say, how are you today? What do you want? Don't bother me. Well, I just came by to say hi. You said hi, now get out of here. Started visiting a nursing home. This is way back years ago. Walking into one lady's room. I said, how are you today, ma'am? Huh? I said, how are you doing today? Huh? Hi, how are you? I'm fine. Next room. How are you today, sir? Huh? So about 3 rooms of that, man. I walked in this room, the lady sitting there, I go, good morning, how are you today? She goes, why are you yelling at me? I said, I'm sorry. The other 5 guys are deaf as a post, man. I'm sorry. You go in there, you find them, some of those old people, they're so sweet. And some of them, they're just rotten and mean as a snake. Issues are, they started out just like you. And they kept all this stuff going on in their life. And they justified it because everybody understood why you are the way you are. No, 10,000 times no. You got to get there. Some of you didn't. You just need to decide, I'm going to let this thing go. You got to come to that decision. Then you got to get with the grace of God, value what they've done to you correctly. It's $2 worth. You remind yourself that maybe I get a whole bunch of $2 bills and pass them out. Put in a little framework somewhere in your room and put it up there. Remind yourself that's $2 worth. That's $2 worth. And you keep reminding yourself God's forgiven you much more than you've ever had to forgive anybody on this planet or will ever do. And after a while, you let it go and you're free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, free at last. Whew. Used to be angry. I lived in Southern California, went to high school in New Costa Mesa down here, played football at Tustin High. I was an angry, hostile guy. Justified every moment of that hostility and stupidity. Flushed 10 years of my life down the tubes, mad at the world. Got out of the service a few months early because I got into a disagreement in a non-Sunday school environment. No more now. Be seated. Now, there's another step that proves you've forgiven. Verse 32, how you treat others indicates if you've forgiven or not. Verse 32, be ye kind. Ooh. Be ye kind. Ooh. Be ye kind, gracious, patient, dealing with other people. Get out of my way, man. You're in my seat. Move. Oh, yeah. Okay. Kindness. Now, of course, you understand. You're kind to who you need to be kind to because you get something from them. So your kindness isn't really kindness. It's just selfishness to get something in return. But when it comes to just somebody else, look at me. When it comes to just somebody else, don't sit there. Don't go on, get out of here. Don't sit there. Go on. Keep moving. Keep going. After you got up here and talked about including people and helping folks, you just turn right around. Whoop! You can't be kind to anybody. You can't be kind to your mom. You can't be kind to your dad. You can't be kind to your brothers and your sisters. There's no kindness in you whatsoever. And you think somehow or another that's justified. Hey, you know what? The truth of the matter is I like going to a place in public, and if they don't have all those automatic door things, hold the door open for them when the people come in. How you doing? Welcome to Outback. Good to have you today. They think I'm a maitre d'. Good to have you today. We'll get a table. Let me get you a table right over there. Go have a seat. Thank you. Thank you for coming today. I leave. I hold the door open for people. Hope you enjoyed your meal today in Outback. I hope you enjoyed your lunch this afternoon. Thank you very much for coming. It was good to see you here. See you work there? No, I just like being nice. It's just holding the door for folks, saying hi to somebody, actually being nice. Some of you people, you walk around in your own little bubble. You just walk right past people. You never say hello. In your church, you know it's amazing to you. If they're not your age, your friends, and your apostle, you have nothing to do with them. You're kidding me. You go to a church paid for by those old people. They paid for it. And they keep paying for it. You got stuff you've never put a nickel in, and some of them have taken savings of their lifetime to pay for stuff you get to use and have in your life, and you can't even walk by them and say, good morning. Ain't going to kill you. Huh? Look, they're not going to read your aura and feel the bumps on your head. You could just go by and say, hi, good morning, hello, how are you? It's amazing, church. Brother Gray, you preach in a lot of churches. It's amazing how we have independent, fundamental, soul winning, separated, King James, Bible preaching, hellfire, and damnation churches, and you go to some of these churches, and they are cold. Huh? I went to this one church up in Oregon, largest independent Baptist church in Oregon, to preach. I pull in the parking lot. I walk up to the door. People pass me by. I don't even have my little suit and tie on, Bible in my hand. People just walk past me. So finally I said, oh, okay. Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing? Man standing at the doorway. When I walked in, I said, good morning, sir. He goes, hi. I said, I'm Pastor Johnson. I'm visiting today. How are you doing? Put your fat hand out there. How are you doing this morning? Good to see you. I said, your name, sir? And he goes, I'm so-and-so. I said, what do you do here in church? He goes, I'm chairman of the deacons. I go, oh, okay, good. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much. I walked around the auditorium before Sunday school started, shaking people's hands, talking to them. People look at you like, what are you doing? I tell myself, are you kidding? Now, okay, I know for teenagers, you got this self-image thing. You probably got a zit you don't want anybody to see, or, you got bologna in your teeth from 2 weeks ago and you haven't brushed them, and whatever your issues are, you had a bad hair day, and that's a disgusting thing for a guy to say. I'm just having a bad hair day. Please stay away from me. It's interesting to me. It's fascinating. I know you got your issues, well, do they still do emo hairdos? Do they still do emos? I don't see any, so I can do that. The emo thing. The hairdo is about you being emotional. I'm just emotional. Seriously. You need a hormone check is what you need. But truth of the matter is be kind. I just blew it. Okay, never mind. Being kind to people. Sarcasm in preaching doesn't apply. Here's the thing. Then, verse 32. Then it says tenderhearted. Hey, look at me. Tenderhearted. Look at me. Tenderhearted. Tenderhearted. That's not only how you are towards your God, it's how you are towards people. See, forgiving people are very good about forgiving other people. Somebody crossed you one time, you wrote them off the list, didn't you? And you have nothing to do with them. You got a hard heart toward people. Well, get ready for a long and hard life. Because, hey, let's just be real. There are some idiots out there. There are people who I think they get out of bed in the morning and God says, go get Mike Johnson. Go get him. These people, now look, don't take this wrong, but I'm for everybody coming to America, but would somebody teach some of these people where the gas pedal is on an American car? Because they drive like 20 miles an hour on the freeway and won't get out of the way. As far as I'm concerned, you should have rocket propelled grenades in your car with a laser sight and shoot them a rocket right in the back seat and go by shaking your fist at the burning wreckage because they won't even do the speed limit. I mean, seriously, it drives me crazy. I'm from California. Get out of the way. If you're from Oregon or Washington, don't come to California anymore because you won't get out of the way either. Say, what's your point? I forgot. Okay, tenderhearted. Yeah, that's it. Okay, there we go. But the truth is, you see, well, I forgave this person and then this person hurt me and now what? You've already learned to forgive. What's one more? Line them up. Come on down. It's all good. Otherwise you get callous toward people. How you doing? What? The guy visited church the other Sunday. So how's it going? I said, hey, are you a first-time visitor, sir? And he goes, yeah, why? I said, I'm the pastor. Just like to meet you this morning. He goes, okay. I said, I'm Pastor Johnson, and you are? And he goes, why? I said, we're going to play 20 questions, aren't we, pal? You don't have to tell me your name if you don't want to. I just wanted you to know you're very welcome here. Okay, so what? So me, you got to understand something now. I think I was born with an extra dose of sarcasm. I'm like a mosquito. I just keep drilling until I get blood. I mean, I said, what are you, on America's Most Wanted or something? You been looking? Oh no. Harsh people with little or no grace in how they treat others indicates you can't forgive. You have not forgiven yet. See, here's the deal. Look at me. I give everybody their own chance. Everybody. Everybody. Look at me. I give everybody their own chance. I don't base what I see on one person based on the other person. Well, so-and-so lied to me and he looks just like him. You kidding me? First of all, men don't know what people look like. My wife will say something. She'll say, honey, didn't that guy look like so-and-so? I go, who? She goes, that guy right over there. Didn't he look like so-and-so? I go, what? No. Well, he's got blue eyes. I go, he's got eyes. That's all I know. I know what color they are. And honey, if you see the guy who kills me and you're the only witness, he's getting off because that guy doesn't even look like this dude. I'm not telling you. What in the world? I give everybody their own chance. Well, I'll tell you what, somebody would said something to me and I'm just not so sure. I give each member of the family their own chance. Seriously. Dad's a jerk. It's not mom's fault. It's her fault she married him, but it's not mom's fault. I give mom a shot. Mom got a chance. Well, the whole family. The whole family. Some of you got a whole thing with your church because of some knucklehead in your church. Well, the whole church knows. No, they don't. And here's why. Because you're not that important. Somebody just escaped. You're not that important. You understand that? Whenever someone comes up to me and says, Brother Johnson, you were preaching just about me today. They get a standard answer from me. You're not that important. That's not the way you're supposed to do it, but that's the way I do it. I'm not wasting a whole sermon on one person. You're not that important. Hey, excuse me, I give everybody their own chance. Do you do that? Are you one of these people who just kind of lumps them all together in one bunch? Tenderhearted. Then it says forgiving one another. Now, that's not just a forgiveness action here. It's talking about forgiving. In other words, here's really good news. If you ever learn to forgive somebody, you'll know how to do it again. And good news, people will give you lots of practice. I've had people threaten to kill me. Can you believe that? Boo Boo Johnson, the big baboo, threatened to shoot me right in front of my people, my wife, my kids. I've had people vandalize my house, members. I've had people mess with my children. Say things to them just to hurt me. And my dad wasn't the last one to ever drop something on me. No. I've been in the ministry for 33 years. And let me just say this too, by the way. That's like 1/10 of 1% of people. The rest of them are wonderful people. But oh man, after a while they get on you. You know that? You get the sisters of the perpetual protruding posteriors who come after you and they start messing with you about stuff. It's fascinating to me how all of a sudden every woman in the church is like that. Well, no, that's not how it works. And excuse me. And you know the truth of the matter is, if you ever let it go with somebody and just let it go till it was gone, you already know how to do this. Now for the next one, it's really simple then. Hey, it was so good to let it go on that knucklehead. I'm going to let it go on this knucklehead too. And then you just keep letting it go. You forgiving. Yeah, but people will just keep taking advantage of you. No, you are free. They are the ones who lay awake at night all twisted and knotted up on the inside. I'm sleeping good. Life is good. It's all wonderful. Some of you lay awake at night and you just think about it all the time. Tell you what they did to me. Nobody understands. Nobody understands me. Nobody understands the way I am, the way it is in my life. No one understands that. I'm sleeping good at night. I'm sleeping really good at night. I don't even know why I keep guns in my house. Somebody breaks in my house, my wife's going to have to wake me up to tell me to go shoot them. Seriously, she'll be, honey. What? Did you hear that? No. Honey, what? One night she wakes me up, she goes, you're breathing. I go, yeah, it's a bad habit I picked up when I was a kid. I mean, you know, I just kind of been doing that for a while. You're breathing. Excuse me. She got me one night. Honey, he's in the front room. Well, I was awake then. Got my Glock 9. Standing there in my pajamas, which I have on right now. Look like the Michelin Man in boxers, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have to shoot the dude. All he had to do is see me in the moonlight. He'd drop dead. Seeing that big white boy standing there. There's parts of me hadn't seen the sun in 50 years, bro. I'm telling you what. I mean, you talk about glow in the dark. I mean, I got my gun, right? Ooh. I'm going around the house. Heart. Got my gun. Ready to go. Look around the hallway. Check the rooms. All the kids asleep. Front room, living room, down the hallway. Ain't nobody in the house. She was talking in her sleep. I walk back in the bedroom. I go, honey, she's just in there. No, we've been married for 40 years. You don't think that woman's had to forgive me of stuff like what I just did? It's more, I want her with me whenever I preach. She's sitting right over here. Honey, stand up, please, would you, please, sweetheart? She'll kill me for doing this. This is my beloved wife of 40 plus. Look at that babe. What? Yeah, buddy. She'd be in the kitchen in her flower house dress on, washing the dishes or something. I'll just walk in there. Girl, you got it going on today now. Mm-hmm. Go over to the sink and say, come here, girl. Dip her over like that. Do my famous Mexican bandit impression. My name is Garcia, and you're my woman. Yeah, buddy. Oh, yeah. Forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake has forgiven you. You know what, young people, you have a clear remembrance, because every time it comes up and you think to yourself, this is not fair, I shouldn't have to forgive them, you remind yourself, oh, I have been forgiven so much. And you're free, and you can stay that way. Otherwise, get ready for a pinched-faced, bitter life with no real joy. Don't live like that. Heavenly Father, help what we have heard this morning be it to our hearts and lives, I pray in Christ's name. Amen.